Before you start modifying your vehicle, there are definitely a few things that you should consider. Things like maintenance and reliability. Okay, so keep in mind that when you upgrade a vehicle, higher performance usually means more maintenance, and also the cost of that maintenance usually is more expensive. Okay, let's use this shock as an example. This shock costs $370 to rebuild. Now I have to mail this shock to California to get it rebuilt because where I live in Idaho, there's nobody certified to be able to rebuild these. You need to rebuild these about every 60,000 miles. My truck has 6 shocks that have to be rebuilt. Now on top of that, once I mail it down there, it can take about 6 to 8 weeks to get it back, which means unless I have a spare set of $8,000 worth of shocks laying around, my truck is stuck on a rack for 6 to 8 weeks, and I can't drive it. In case you were wondering about stock shocks for a Tundra, it takes about 2 days to get them from a dealership. They cost about $700 and you can have them installed in about an hour. Sometimes nowadays it's not even about the cost anymore. The amount of shops that are willing to take on highly custom work is shrinking and shrinking, and the ones that still will take on that custom work, they are backlogged for months at a time many times. So in my case, with my upper and lower control arms, again, these have to be serviced about every 60,000 miles. And you actually have to press out these giant spherical bearings out of the control arm, and you have to install new ones because they get worn over time. Well, in order to do that, I had to go pick up a 12-ton press to do it myself because I couldn't really find any shops that really wanted to take these projects on right now. Okay, so also due to the increased travel and weight of this vehicle, my CVs actually wear out quicker than they normally would. I have a friend that has a Tundra. He's driven it over 200,000 miles. He's never replaced his CVs. He's never replaced his tie rods. But in my case, with the long travel on there, they wear out quicker, especially the boots. So in this case, I'm at about 90,000 miles, and while I have everything else off, I'm gonna go ahead and replace my CV axles, and I'm gonna replace my tie rods. My tie rods were significantly loose when I pulled them off. They would just droop right away and moved around a lot like they're not supposed to. And the CVs, if you noticed on the boots here, very hard to see, but they're both leaking already. Now, you could just do a reboot kit if it's just a little bit of a leak. But with how much these have been abused and banged around on almost exclusively dirt miles, we're gonna go ahead and pull them out and replace them. We're gonna talk more about CVs in just a minute. CVs are actually really, really important to understand if you want to do serious off-roading, because on an independent front suspension truck, this is the #1 thing you're gonna break. So if you're gonna be off-roading a Tacoma or a Tundra, or many, many other IFS popular models out there, you need to understand how these work. You need to understand how to see if they're getting worn, and you need to know what to do if you break these. So keep in mind, if you intend to do a lot of off-road miles, the undercarriage of your car and your components are gonna take a lot of abuse, and that's gonna result in rust. So one other thing you need to consider if you're gonna be a big off-roader and upgrade your vehicle, you are going to have to do some rust mitigation. Clean this stuff up, sand it down, repaint it every once in a while. Okay, so let's talk tires. Tires are kind of another major expense that people sometimes don't exactly calculate correctly. You know, they want big tires, they want knobby tires. A lot of times they're going with mud terrain tires. Well, mud terrain tires are softer, they wear out faster. Also, when you start going to 35s and bigger on tires, the cost goes up substantially. You think like, oh, it's only 2 inches bigger or something. Doesn't matter. The costs go up substantially on oversized tires. They also are much more fickle with the market and the price of oil, so you're gonna see them range all the time. Just because you could get a set earlier for $400 a tire does not mean you're gonna be able to get that in the future. For me right now, for a set of 37s for my Tundra, it usually runs me around $2,500 by the time they're balanced and on the rims. Okay, so another important thing to understand about tires is tires are kind of like your early warning system to understand if the maintenance on your truck is being done correctly. So, for example, on my truck, the suspension components were getting worn, so even though I had got my tires balanced, my tires were still not wearing evenly, and I was experiencing a thing that's called cupping on some of my older tires, these guys right here. And it's because my suspension is bouncing around too much. There's too much movement within it when I'm driving. So even if my tires are properly balanced and my alignment is done properly, there's enough movement in my suspension that it was causing my tires to wear out. Now think about that. A set of tires costs $2,500. It's a really expensive thing to not do the proper maintenance on your vehicle and end up ruining tires. All the time I see people comment on tires that are pretty reputable, known brands, and they will say things like, oh, I hate, for example, a BF Goodrich tire. Let's talk about those just because it's a tire that the vast majority of people have actually experienced if they off-road. They're pretty solid tires. And you have people that will say, oh, those tires were trash. They didn't even last me 25,000 miles. If that's really what's going on, if they really wore out and were destroyed after 25,000 miles, then something's wrong with your suspension, something's wrong with your alignment. It's not because I'm a fan of BF Goodrich, I'm not. I've got 7 different brands of tires here. I test all kinds of tires all the time. But for the most part, most of the big brand tire names out there are pretty reliable tires and are pretty good at hitting their mileage if the tire is taken care of properly. So more often than not, the issue with your tires is an issue with your suspension, upkeep, and maintenance. Look at that. Giant rock. I just found this giant rock wedged up underneath my tie rod. That probably wasn't good. That's pretty big. Okay, so I know what some of you guys are thinking. Why is the guy with a bunch of upgraded trucks trying to scare the bejesus out of everyone from building an upgraded truck? And that's not what I'm trying to do. You need to understand what you're getting into when you upgrade your truck. For example, if you ever had the spare 40 grand to build a huge long travel Tundra, that's great, but make sure you understand that, hey, in your area, there might not be a service center that will actually work on that thing after you own that truck. So if you bought it, say in Utah, and brought it home to Idaho, you might be stuck with doing all the maintenance yourself, which is exactly what happened to me. Another key learning from this video that I hope you can take away is if you ever buy a used off-road vehicle that has already been upgraded, all these things that we're talking about, these are all the things that you need to make sure and take to a shop and you need to check. You need to check your tie rods, you need to check your CVs, you need to check all the axles, all the bushings, all the bearings, all the ball joints, right? Any of that stuff very likely is worn. Half the time people will do maintenance, and then when they run that 40, 60, 80,000 miles on that equipment and it's starting to get loose, that's when they're selling their vehicle. Not because anything's broken, they're not doing anything dishonest, but likely you're picking up a used off-road vehicle that is right at the point where the majority of the maintenance needs to be done. Now, I know a lot of you are just gonna say, hey, I'm not planning on doing some crazy build. I'm going with a much more basic build than some crazy long travel system, and that's totally great as well. Even on more basic builds, a lot of times you will be working with rebuildable shocks and rebuildable components. So just make sure you've done your research and you know how to get the parts, where to be able to send stuff to be able to rebuild it, and how much that's gonna cost you, so it doesn't come as a surprise later on down the road. Okay, so I promised a deep dive on CVs. Now, we're not gonna go too crazy, but bear with me, you really need to know this stuff because this is one of the main things that can break on a trail. And then also, you wanna know how to do maintenance on it and catch it before it breaks. So first of all, we'll cover really quickly what is a CV, how to recognize when they need maintenance, and then what do you do if you break this thing on a trail. So first of all, a CV stands for constant velocity. It's a constant velocity joint inside of here and inside of here. There's actually 2 of them. What that allows you to do is this is what powers your tire and makes your tire spin. So this side can go into your differential, then it can now down angle to going into the back of your tire. This side flexes as well. So as your tire's bouncing around on the road, up and down constantly, those CV axles, the CV joints inside of here is what allowing it to freely move up and down like this without breaking anything. If you're driving on a road, it doesn't actually move up down that much. Sure, you hit a couple potholes, maybe a couple speed bumps going low speed, no big deal. When you're out off-roading on a washboard, non-stop, doing hundreds of miles, these things will start to wear out. And some of the ways that they will wear out is these clips right here. These clips can get loose. And what will happen, see this one doesn't even have a clip on it by the way, because we touched it and it just fell off. That's how wore out it was. Now, you can see a little bit of grease buildup here and dust. That's because this is leaking. A CV boot should not leak at all. Not a little bit, it's not like, oh, a little tiny bit's okay. No, they should not be leaking at all. So if you're driving and you're only 40,000 miles into a CV axle, and you start seeing the tiniest little bit of leaking, you can stop right there, you can take it in, and they'll put on what's called a reboot kit. So these are brand new versions of these boots right here. You can see how wore out this one just looks crushed and crunchy. So they'll stick a new boot, they'll pack it full of new grease, and you'll probably be able to get a whole bunch of more miles out of that CV because you caught it in time. If you don't catch it in time, like this one that didn't even have a clip on it, because it was bent in half and falling out, when I drive through a puddle, that just fills with water. And that water rushes sand and little pebbles inside of there, gets inside of this box, and as those ball joints are going around inside of this cup that holds them, it's gonna wear deep grooves in there and it's gonna wear out the CV and destroy it, and I can show you that. See this CV right here, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I actually have to apply a decent amount of pressure and a little bit of muscle to be able to turn it because it's brand new. It's brand new, nice and tight CV. This one, well actually I should correct myself, it's a remanufactured nice CV. This one right here, watch how wobbly this one is. See, it'll just go anywhere. This thing is completely wore out, and it's probably wore out from all the crap that's gotten inside of there when it was driving. Now, you're gonna notice I actually have a long travel, so my axle from here to here is longer than from there to there. So I actually have to buy brand new CVs from Toyota, then I've got to completely deconstruct them, put the longer axle in, and then rebuild them. And in order to do that, I'll have to repack them with grease and everything like that. It is a surgical process that feels like goop going everywhere. It is quite the mess. It's not actually that hard, it's just very time consuming and very, very messy. So that's another thing to consider. You want really great long travel? When you have to service or replace your CVs, it can be a lot more work in the future than just buying this from the factory. This comes in a box already put together. You yank out the old one, you stick in the new one, and you're off to the races. So now let's talk about, now that you kind of understand CVs, what they do, they provide power to your front tires, right? Now we've got to talk about what happens if you break this on the trail. If your boot just barely starts leaking, seal it up on the end as best you can with zip tie or something, get home, reboot it, you'll get a bunch more life. Now, what happens if you completely break the thing? This is the number one thing that fails, okay? And CV axles, the joints in here are not actually the strongest type of joint. It's just the type of joint that they use in this because it needs to have constant velocity from this end to that end. Same amount of speed going all the way through. You could do, with U-joints, you can do constant velocity if you connect two U-joints that are always at the exact same angle. You can't do that with a tire moving around. So that's why you have CV axles or CV joints in a CV axle. So now that we know that, when this breaks, you could break anywhere within here, okay? You could explode what's called a spider inside of here that holds all those ball joints. That could blow up. You could break some of these teeth off of here, enough teeth off of here where this thing just spins inside of there. So when you're in four-wheel drive in some really critical location, you could break your CV. So first you're gonna have to diagnose and figure out which side it's on. You usually will hear a loud pop when this happens. So you usually already know which side it's on. And then if you try to continue driving, you're gonna hear some really bad noises. You wanna stop as soon as possible because you don't want a broken CV to lead to a broken differential or different things like that. So once you kind of can figure out what's going on, one of the easiest ways to get back on the road, if you don't have a spare CV and aren't gonna pull your other CV and put a new one in, is a lot of times, many times, just to cut this one off. If your CV is already broken, you know you're gonna be replacing it, you could cut your axle in the middle here, you can cut your axle in the middle there, you can leave both of these in place so they aren't hitting anything, you can drive off. Now, that'll work great if your broken piece of your CV is down here, down by your tire. What if it's up above here? So you still have your car in four-wheel drive because you're hoping that you can use that third wheel as three-wheel drive to get out of a really complex road. Well, if it's inside of here, you could still have some grinding and some noise. So you pretty much have to start diagnosing where it is broken and what all you need to be able to remove to be able to roll out of there. Now, you don't really want to have to just pull this entire thing off of the car and then just have your tire on your hub rolling freely. The reason you generally don't want to have to do that is because when you pull this out of your differential, that opens up a big hole underneath your vehicle for tons of mud and water and gunk to get into your differential, and you'll probably destroy that as well. People have had to do that. It happens a lot of times on trails for trail fixes, but if at all possible, you're trying to get rid of stuff from here down, get it out of the way to be able to get your tire rolling again without doing more damage and get back on the road and three-wheel your way out of there. Now, if you're lucky enough that you actually bought one of these, because there's only a cost about anywhere from $200 to $400, depending if you're getting a Toyota branded one, a non-Toyota branded one, or a Toyota remanufactured one. If you have one of these as a spare, as long as you don't have to actually take these apart and reboot them or anything, all the mess is contained, right? So the hardest thing of that whole entire job is just going to be getting your axle nut off. As long as you can get your axle nut off of your car, you could actually pull an old CV and stick a new CV in pretty quickly, and it's not that hard of a repair. So you can learn how to do that on YouTube videos. There's plenty of full-length YouTube videos out there. But what I always tell people is if you do break one of these on the trail, it's a good idea to have a grinder with you, because that's the easiest way to cut this off and try to get back on the road as fast as possible, the easiest way possible. Okay, so there are probably a million mechanics out there that are better than me and know more than me. So make sure to chime in the comments if you have any recommendations for roadside repairs, how to fix a CV on the trail, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear best practices from people that have vastly more experience than me. Also, if you have any advice for people that are maybe considering buying a used 4x4, what are the things that they should be checking and how should they make sure that that's a good buy? And finally, what about designing your own build? What are some things that you should think about before you design your own build to make sure that you don't end up with a vehicle where you're just shoveling money into what feels like a bottomless pit? So comment below. Talk to you guys soon. We're shifting videos to Mondays now, so see you next Monday.